Hello world, hello everyone, this is Shauna with Disrupt Apps LLC again, and today I'm going to be doing another how-to video, and in this video I want to show you how to get an old server up and running again. You can find these on the internet or from a recycler, and you can get them pretty cheaply now, but this is an Dell R410 Poweredge, and I bought this unit probably like 5 or 6 years ago on the cheap, and so I want to go ahead and get this thing up and running again, and I will show you how to check things and how to install Debian Linux on it. So let's go ahead and get started, shall we? So the first thing I want to do is, I've already loosened up the cover panel here because it can be a little bit of a pain. So I'm going to set this aside over here, and there we go. We're looking at the guts of the inside of the server, and I'll go ahead and pull off the plastic shroud for the air ducting, get that out of the way. And I don't remember the specifications on this thing, but as you can see here, this is a dual CPU unit, and let's take a quick look at the memory. Go ahead and pop this out, and let's see what we got here. We have, so I had to fiddle with my camera, so this is a 4 gig stick, and I think this is probably DDR3, yeah, PC3 DDR3 I believe. So yeah, we've got 4 gigs, 8 gigs, so I think we've got like 16 gigs total and 8 gigs per CPU. So you have to remember, this is an older unit that back in the day this is a decent amount of RAM, but I'll have to go on and look to see how much this thing supports. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 slots here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll have to see how much memory you can put into this thing. Let's take a look at some of the walk around of this unit. I'm going to take the camera off the stand here. Now with these units, they don't have a front pull-out hot swapping thing, not like the newer models. I think some models had that feature, but this one doesn't. So if you're like me and you were figuring how do I get these out, there's these little blue tabs in the back, and each one of these blue tabs is actually the release mechanism. So to do that, to pull these hard drives out, you have to take the cover off, and then you have to like pull up, and these things pull out. So, but I'm not going to pull these out because I don't want to pull all these data and power cables off here. But with any other build, you want to check, you always want to check your CMOS battery, that is. And I went ahead and I've already changed this battery, but for good measure I want to go ahead and just demonstrate how to check a CMOS battery if you have a digital voltmeter. And let me go ahead and put this thing back on the stand, and there's my other server that I have that I did a video on. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can zoom in to the approximate area of the CMOS. I went ahead and moved the camera so you can see the CMOS battery removal, and basically you should be able to just slide it out just like that. Let's see here, you've got the CMOS battery. Let me go ahead and get out the voltmeter. Let me back out the camera a little bit. So if you worked with a voltmeter before, you understand how to do this, but if you don't, to check these little 3-volt batteries, you want to go ahead and switch your dial knob, and let's put it to the 9-volt DC side. And basically, you want to take one of your leads of your probes and stick it to one side, and then hit the other side with it, and you can see there the battery has got 3.13 volts. So it's always good practice to test to make sure you've got good voltage to your CMOS battery, and if you don't, you need to replace it because that will lead to issues down the line. So I'll go ahead and put this back into the slot if it'll cooperate. Okay, so it feels a little loose. So you're going to basically make sure this retention clip, you need to be careful with doing this, but the retention clip was a little loose, so just go ahead and bend it back in very gently, because you need to have that retention clip putting pressure on the CMOS battery, or you won't have the current flow to keep the system settings. And so while we're here, I want to go ahead and do a quick walk around of the unit. So up here we've got the dual power supplies right there, and then you've got your fans, you've got your CPUs, you've got your RAM, some circuit board item, I'm not sure what that is. And then up here up the front, you've got your CD drive, then you have your drive bays, and again, you can't take these, on this particular model, you have to do this retention clip back here, pull up and push out to remove these things. And let's see here, you've got a mounting, looks like a mounting fixture there. It has some ports, then you have your PowerEdge 410, some USB ports, those are probably USB 2 because it's older machine. And then you've got a Xeon sticker. And there's nothing interesting on the sides. Really nothing interesting on the sides. And then swinging the unit on the back, let's look at the I/O. So this is an older system, so you're not going to have much on it. And you got your VGIs, a couple more USBs, some gigabyte, probably gigabyte Ethernet ports. I'll have to see what specs are on them. And then your two plugs for your redundant power supplies. Now to put the air ducting plastic shroud back on. These are always such a pain to work with. I don't like them because they catch on things and they're flimsy, and sometimes they can be a pain, but that went on pretty well this time. So, and then go ahead and put the cover back on. I hate this particular style of cover because this thing can always be a pain in the rear to pull it off, but since we're done investigating it, we'll go ahead and put that back in there. And the next step here is to actually boot this thing to see, one, if it'll boot, and two, to see what kind of specs this machine has. I forgot, it's been so long, and I've got my monitor here, and I will plug it up, plug it in, and get the keyboard and mouse, and we'll have a look at it. And then afterwards I'll show you how to make a bootable USB drive and put Debian Linux on this machine. Alright, well, while I was connecting all the cables, and when I inserted the power cable into the power supply, this thing went ahead and powered on without me having to do anything. So that's a really good sign that things are working. And this thing sounded like a jet engine taking off. So let's see what here. I hit F2 and see what's going on with the BIOS. So things are working. You can see we're looking at July. I'll go ahead and zoom in the screen here. July 13th, July 2013. So memory settings 16 gigs, DDR3, 1067. So yeah, it's nothing spectacular, but hey, it's a server from like, I don't know, 10 years ago. And then the processor, yes, 64-bit core speed, 2.4 gigahertz baseline, which isn't too bad. I mean, so it's an Intel Xeon E5620. So and we can go on there and look at this maybe, but at least we know what's in it. And there we go, we've got 2 of them, so that's good. Alright, I don't remember if this thing has an operating system on it or not, so... And then boot settings, BIOS, boot mode, BIOS, setting, boot sync. Okay, well it's got Ubuntu on it. Coming up here, maybe the previous owner had, I think he said it had Ubuntu on it. So let's go ahead and see what happens. I haven't booted this thing up in, good lord, probably like 5 years, 6 years, so. Alright, well that took forever and a minute to boot up, and it says December 4th, 1544, 100 hours, and well, I can tell you that it is not December 4th, and it is not 1544, 100 hours. Well, that's good. I mean, at least we know it's working. It's got the cool cat or panther or whatever that version feline that is, so that's working. Let's see here what notes say. Okay. I think, I'm not sure. I think these are just generic commands they may have put on here, so. Well, that's cool. That is very cool. It works. I like it when things work and don't give you very much of a headache. With that, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next step of this video. Alright, so moving on with the next part of the tutorial. So right now I'm just a Linux enthusiast, and eventually I want to become a power user and get really good at managing Linux systems and Linux servers and things like that. So I was thinking, why not go ahead and just do both a Debian install and then an Ubuntu install. So what I have up here is I have Rufus, Debian, Ubuntu Desktop, and Ubuntu Server. Now for the advanced users out there who like have the elite and godlike skills, they're going to be doing this kind of stuff. But me, as a beginner noob enthusiast, I'm just going to stick with Ubuntu and Desktop. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get a software that allows us to create a bootable disk or a bootable flash drive for the ISOs that we'll get from Debian or from Ubuntu. And the one that I use and a lot of people use is Rufus. And here's the website up here, the URL, and I'll put that in the link below. But so you got to come down here to the download section. Don't click on these. These are like probably not malware, but they're like spamware, stuff like that. So don't fall for these, but you need to come down here and then download the rufus.exe, because for me, I'm running Windows. Click that and it's downloading. We have Rufus on the desktop. Now coming here to Debian, let's go ahead and download the ISO for Debian. And right here, they make it real easy right on the home page. All you have to do is come here and hit download. And let's see, the download is started. It'll probably be a little bit, oh, it's going pretty fast. I have pretty good internet service where I live. So, and then while I'm at it, here, I'm going to go ahead and download the Ubuntu. And I'm going to go with right here, the 5.9 gigabytes, and thank you for downloading the desktop. And I'm not going to subscribe, and right now it's going to take a couple minutes for me to download the Ubuntu. And if you're elite and if you're advanced, you can always do the Ubuntu server. And this, from my understanding, does not have a graphical user interface, a GUI, and whereas the desktop version does. And I'm fine, because I'm a noob and I'm figuring this out. I'm happy with having a GUI. Alright, so let's get the bootable USB flash drive going. Let me go ahead and put it into the computer. And let me go ahead and open up Rufus. And I'll go ahead and open up Rufus. I'm going to ignore that device up there, because that Mint is what was on there. And I'm going to go here where it says boot selection, disk or ISO. We'll hit select, And here I want to select the Debian because we want to put Debian onto the USB drive. So select that, open, and see here, I'm not going to change any of these partition schemes or the target system. I'm not going to change any of that. Format options. Rufus automatically does a quick format for you. So, and here the volume label is going to be Debian 12, and you can change this to whatever you want. And I'm going to leave these settings all as default, and we're going to go ahead and just hit start. And don't worry about these messages. It's just warning you about, so don't worry about this message, just hit OK. And then this is just another warning. Just go ahead and hit yes. And go ahead and click that again. And this is one more warning. Go ahead and click yes, OK. And we'll watch it go ahead and make an ISO. And here we go. It's loading up all the files onto the USB drive. So this might take a while, and I'll let it cook off. All right, and well, it looks like it's done. So we'll go ahead and close this. And one thing that I do want to show you really quickly is, remember how I said you want to make sure that your USB device has the capacity to take the ISO. Well, if you look here at the Debian over here on the left, we'll look at it. We'll open it, right click to Properties, and you can see the USB drive I have is 32 gigs, so it can hold pretty much anything. And it looks like the use space for this particular instance of Debian 12 was 851 megabytes. So you just need to be aware of that. I'll go ahead and hit OK. And it's good practice to go ahead and always eject. So if you don't know how to eject a device, you just right click it and scroll up here and hit eject. And then you can eject your device. So while we're here, I want to go ahead and make an Ubuntu ISO. And I have another USB drive that I'm going to put into my USB slot here. And I had another OS on this thing, so I'm going to go ahead and use this and just override it. And to check again your capacity of whatever drive you have, you just hover over it, right click, select Properties, and then you can see here I've got an 8 gig capacity. So I should be able to put the Ubuntu instance on it, because I think, well, let's see what the file size here. So if you don't know how to look at the file size, you can just hover over it, and it says right there 5 gigabytes if you just mouse over it. But again, you can just hit right click, go to Properties, and then over here it shows the 5.9 gigs. And sometimes there's always maybe a bit of an expansion, so you may want to give yourself another half a gig or a gig of wiggle room just in case. And also, you don't always get your full advertised space on the USBs. That's just the way it works. So with that said, it's going to be the same thing we just did with the Debian ISO. We'll come here to Rufus. We'll click it to open it. And Rufus is so nice. It does so much automatically for you. And we have the 8 gig USB drive, and hopefully it'll fit. And then again, we don't change any of that. And I want to hit select here. And in this case, I want to select the Ubuntu ISO. So just hit that and hit open. And here we've got format options. Ubuntu 24.02 is automatically populated as a volume label. Again, I never change anything here. We'll do this, and then we'll just go ahead and hit start. And then once again, just go through these warnings. They really don't matter. And we'll just let it cook off. All right, well, that took forever in a minute. So let's go here at the Ubuntu. I'm going to Properties, and let's see what the installed size is. Okay, so it used up 5.9 gigabytes. Okay, well, that's done. So let's go ahead and remove the flash drive, and it's always good practice to eject the disk. And to do that, you just hover over the disk, right click, and hit eject. And there we go. Now we've got two bootable flash drives, one with Debian and one with Ubuntu. So we'll head over to the server and install these. Alright, and here we go. So you can see right here, I've got the two USB drives that we created. The one on the left is the Ubuntu, and the one on the right is the... Alright, so here we go. I've got the two USB drives that we created, the two. Alright, here we go. So now we've got the two bootable USB flash drives that we made with Rufus. And on the left, the black one has the instance of Debian on it. And the one on the right, the one that's Patriot, the red one, has the Ubuntu. So with any install, the best practice is to put these into the back rear I/O USB slots. You could always try to put them in the front USB slots, but you never know if there's some sort of issue or connection issue. So it's always good practice to go ahead and, I know it's a bit of a pain, but just to take it and then come around on the back side and find the USB port and put it in. Well, in this case, I'm kind of SOL because there's not enough USB ports, so we'll just have to hope that there is no problem. And we're just going to go ahead and insert it into the front USB port here. And of course you always have to flip it 180. And put this back on the camera stand. And let's boot this thing up, shall we? So hopefully I had it in time where I can get into the boot manager. Alright, so when I come here to the front, we had to let it do its thing, and I was hitting the F11 to get to the boot menu, and went to the boot manager, as you can see here, for this old thing, and I found the the front USB flash disk. So let's go ahead and see if I can get that to work. Alright, so looks like we're here at the Debian screen. Let's see if I can get this to zoom in a little bit better. So I'll just go ahead and hit English. Located in the United States of Trump. American English. And we'll do the install. Alright, this system has multiple layers. Alright. I think that was the Ethernet. I just selected the first one just to move along the video. Alright, yeah, I'm not hooked up to the internet. That's probably what it's complaining about. I'm not worried about it. I'm not going to configure the network at this time because I just want to install it. Let's just go through that. Alright, time zone. Central. Configure the clock. The installer can guide you through my time if you choose to guide it. Okay. Yeah, we've had some options here. Use the entire disk and set up an encrypted LVM. For now, we can go into this later, but I just want to show here. Full flash drive, no. Alright. So this is choosing, you need to choose what disk you want to partition it to. So you want to make sure you don't want to delete the hard drive, the flash drive that you're using as the bootable medium. So you want to use the Dell all files. Alright, so right here I'm looking at this part where it has guided partitioning, but if I go to guided partitioning and it says you use entire disk, what I'm concerned about is it has a virtual disk, and I'm not sure why this is doing that. Let's go ahead and, because I don't want to make a virtual disk, and I'm not sure why it's doing that. So I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to hit back again, and it brings you up to this screen here. So if you're having this problem like I am, and it's not straightforward like other videos on YouTube, let's just go back to the partition disks, and then I want to go ahead and select this. So during this install, I'm running into this issue of having, it's calling this, my hard drive's in here, which I have a terabyte total, it's calling it a virtual disk, and I'm not running VM, I'm putting this on hard disks, and this is very frustrating because, you know, I'm just going to go with guided. If you're going to have the same problem as I am, you'll understand and we'll diagnose this together. So I'm just going to go ahead and push forward with the virtual disk and see what happens. Alright, we're going to do the virtual disk. I don't know why it's calling it a virtual disk. And I'm just going to put all the files in one partition, recommended for new users, hit continue. And this is what's going to concern me with this part right here. Alright, if you continue the changes below, alright. Alright. I don't want to do that right now. Alright, this system anomalous spiders. I don't want to do that. I don't want to participate in that right now. Alright, I'll go ahead and install these system utilities. Why not? Alright, this, you need to make a newly installed system bootable by installing the grub bootloader on the bootable device. Alright, I want to, basically, you need to put this onto your, the grub bootloader needs to be put on a drive. So you don't want to put it, in my case, you don't want to put it on the USB drive that you have. You want to put it on your actual system. So it automatically selected the SCSI. So go ahead and just make sure you're on your hard drives in your machine, not the USB, because you don't want to put your bootloader on your USB drive. Installation is complete, so it is time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove the installation medium so that you boot into the new system rather than restarting the installation. Right, so I'm going to remove my USB drive. Here it is. And we're going to hit continue to reboot, and let's see if this went well. There we go. We've got the bootloader up, and we've got Debian, and it's looking to go ahead and move along. Alright, so installing Debian, as I found out, you don't, if you're a newbie like me, you don't want to get this one here, because this requires some advanced knowledge of getting everything set up, and I want to start off with the basic. And there's other tutorials out there that I've found, and I'm not at that stage yet, but what they recommended to do is if you're learning your chops, is you want to go get a live version of it. And here's the link up here, and I want to go with the GNOME version. So I'm going to go ahead and download that ISO and save that. And it's going to take a little bit of time to download, and that should have the supposedly this is going to have the GNOME desktop on it. And what I ran into, as you saw previously, is I ran into not having a GUI, and I want to have a GUI since I'm a noob. I'm not nowhere near a power user yet, nor elite neckbeard. So step by step. Hey, this is part of the process. No shame in learning. Right. So we've got the Debian with GNOME here. So once again, we'll go ahead and do a Rufus, and then we're going to go ahead like we did before. We're going to select the ISO, and I want to use the Debian Live 1211 with the GNOME. We'll go ahead and select that, and here it populated the volume label with that, and we're going to leave it all as default settings. Hit start. Okay, and we'll let it cook and bake. Alright, well that's finished up. So once again, we'll go ahead and close out the Rufus, and then once again, it's always good practice to eject your media. So right click and eject. And then once again, we'll take it over to the server and give it a shot. So I need to get into the boot manager, which is F11 for this particular machine. Alright, so we need to come down here to the boot manager. We need to go down to hard, and we need to select the USB flash drive, because that's where we got the installation media. I'll go ahead. So hopefully this time will be better. Yes, that's good. This is the simple noob version that I wanted to do in the first place, and leave it to the elite power user neckbeards out there who know what they're doing. So I'll just go ahead and we'll just start off with a live system. But this is what I think it is. It's going to be like installing Linux Mint. It'll give you kind of a preview, and then afterwards you can install the Mint. Alright, and there we have it. We have got ourselves a GUI. And we have a welcome screen, so this is pretty cool. And what do we have here? Welcome. Hit next. Hit English is next. We'll just leave that default now. That's just location services. Alright, start using Debian GNU Linux. And there we go. We've got our Linux up here. Now we want to go ahead and restart. And this time around, so decided to reboot it, and this time around I want to get back into the boot manager, and this time we'll do the installation, because that was just like a preview, and I'm not competent enough yet with Debian to go through there and do it through the UI to do the actual install like Mint. Mint makes it easy. Alright, come down to the hard drive, and once again we want to go to the USB flash drive because that's where the media is. Hit enter, and then this time around, instead of doing the live system, we're just going to start the installer. Alright, here we go, and we've got the Debian 12 installer this time around, so hopefully things will go smoothly. United States, English, we'll select those. Configure the keyboard. Oh, I'm being silly, it's right there. American English. Alright, so it's detecting the Ethernet ports, and choose the one that's a primary network interface during the installation. Go ahead and hit that. I'm not worried about that. I do not configure the network at this time. I'm not worried about that. And I'll do central. We'll do the guided. See, here we go again with the virtual disk. I don't know why it does that, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. All files one partition, and finish. Alright, changes yes. Okay, so we've let it did its thing for a little while here at the network mirror. Not right now. Alright, you need to make sure the newly installed system is bootable. Alright, at this point, so it's asking where to put the grub bootloader, and you don't want to put it on the flash drive because we're going to take the flash drive out. So you want to make sure that it's on your system, and that's the SCSI you can see right there. So select that, continue. Alright, so we've got the to the finish of this install, so I want to go ahead and remove the media, and here's the USB drive, and let's go ahead and hit continue to restart, and let's go to the grub menu, hit Debian. Well, that took forever and a minute to happen. So this is good though. We're making progress. I'll go ahead and log in. And my camera's screwing up again. So there you go. We've got Debian 12 installed on this ancient machine here. I'll go ahead and close that out, and well, there you go. This is halfway through this video tutorial, and the next step is to go ahead and install the Ubuntu version.